be taken to Treblinka. And when the dawn breaks, I will no longer be alive. It's a simple calculation. This is the last time I'm seeing the blue skies between the clouds. Today, exactly 8 decades later, I think about that Jew. I look at the skies like he did. These are the same skies, same cloudy skies of the month of April. And the pain pierces my heart. Distinguished guests, President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, President of Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, our dear survivors and heroes of the Second World War, families, distinguished guests. I came here today from Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the free, sovereign, Jewish and democratic state of Israel. I've come here, and with me, with us, here, are sons and daughters of entire families, communities, who are and continue to be a symbol of vibrant life, of a millennium-old history, of the rich and prosperous civilization of Polish Jewry, and of course symbols of the immense courage in ghettos, in camps, in forests, everywhere, always and in every means, during the carnage of the terrible Holocaust that befell on our people during the Second World War. We've come here 80 years to the day since the outbreak of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the emblem of heroism during humanity's darkest hour. Here where we stand, stood the ghetto, cramped, bustling, and bursting with life. And nearby, near the collection point, it was there that the fate of some 300,000 Polish Jews was sealed. Children, elderly, women and men, who were deported to the Treblinka death camp. When I close my eyes, I can only envision the brave warriors of the revolt, members of the Jewish Combat Organization, a few hundred souls who faced the thousands of Nazi soldiers who stormed the ghetto to annihilate them, facing the forces of the Nazi oppressor, trained, monstrous, armed to the teeth, who broke into door after door, house after house, in a vicious and inconceivable hunt for Jews, whose face was only one: death and extermination. A group of young and heroic Jewish Poles, determined with faith and hope, drawing their strength from the heroic streak that runs like a thread through Jewish history. From King David's brave men to the warriors of Masada and Bar Kokhba, they fought against all odds, from the rooftops, from the sewers, from the deepest cellars, in the streets and the country yards, behind crumbling walls, in rooms that were going up in flames, and they won. We had no chance of victory in battle, recalled Tzvia Luvetkin, a woman that I admired my whole life, a member of the leadership of the Jewish Combat Organization, Eyal, whose granddaughter, Eyal, named after the Hebrew acronym of the combat organization. She is here with us today. It was clear to us that we had no chance of victory in the usual sense of the word. But we knew that at the end, we will win, we will emerge victorious. We were weak, but our strength is in the belief in justice. We believe in humanity. They were right. Most of the warriors of the Ghetto Uprising did not survive, but their spirit, the spirit of man, won on this soil. sanctified with the blood of our heroic brothers. Who is a hero? That is one of the core questions in the Jewish existence. Here the answer is clear. They were the heroes, but not only here, but all across Europe, in the trails of tears, in the depths of carnage, in the confines of ghettos and the camps of extermination, in all circles of hell, in a world that was falling apart in the shadow of death, under conditions of humiliation, in the ghettos, in the killing pits, in the death trains, in the gas chambers and crematoriums. They succeeded. Mothers, fathers, children, grandfathers and grandmothers, in upholding a human morality, mutual responsibility, faith and basic humanity, the love of mankind. They upheld the most fundamental and basic Jewish imperative: love thy neighbor as thyself. They were not alone. With them, in a heroic battle against the Nazis in every country, were righteous among the nations, members of the local resistance movements, including, of course, the Polish righteous amongst the movement, among the nations, and members of the Polish underground, who risked their own lives and chose not to stand idly by. I stand here at these sacred moments in a place where whole branches of our people are cut down, destroyed, tortured and exterminated, in a place where Jewish hope and faith faced challenges like the which humanity never saw before. I cannot help but to imagine the daughters and sons of my people, the beloved and pleasant, in their lives and their deaths, never divided. I imagine, what would they have said? What would they have thought if in those dark hours, in the trench of the sewers, in front of the barrels of guns and tanks, had someone whispered in their ears that 80 years later we would stand here, the presidents of Poland, Israel and Germany, standing here and saluting their heroism and swearing an eternal oath together to their sacred memory. An oath with a singular core: never again. Oh one, oh no one, oh no one, oh you. Where did it lead, as it led nowhere? Oh you, dig and I dig myself towards you, and on our finger the ring awakens. So wrote the great Jewish poet Paul Celan in a poem describing life as a forced laborer during the Second World War, translated into Hebrew by Professor Uzi Shavit, who passed away a few weeks ago. Those same hands that dug 80 years ago meet here in this place. The hands that dug here in recent months and years, finding more and more evidence of the life that once existed and the heroism that once existed. Heroism of the soul and body. These moving discoveries are binding, imperative, a command to continue digging, discovering, finding every scrap of memory, every trace of life that once was, and no more, to remember and arose, especially within our nation's youth, until the end of time. Your Excellency, the President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, I thank you for your colossal efforts and your commitment to the labor of remembrance and commemoration, including here in this place. We must remember, there is nothing postmodern or relativistic about Holocaust remembrance. Absolute evil existed in the form of the Nazis and their accomplices. Absolute good also existed in the form of the victims and the rebels. And in passing this heritage down to posterity, it must reflect this indisputable axiom. No ifs, no buts. The heroism of resistance and their imperative to remember that terrible chapter of history when Jewish people faced complete annihilation and destruction rained down upon Poland and many other countries. We offer a platform for important dialogue between Poland and Israel. I believe and hope that this friendship will flourish and develop and allow us to elucidate and analyze the depth of disagreements and pain, while also building important partnerships, not only on the fundamentals of the past, but also on the basis of our shared future. Your Excellency, President of Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, and your often unforgettable remarks at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem at the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp, you repeated two key words which point to the important connection between the past and the present: guilt and responsibility. Thank you for your moral leadership and for being such an important and significant force in deepening the friendship between our people, centered on our eternal commitment to remembrance, responsibility, and for the future security and prosperity of the State of Israel. Dearly beloved Holocaust survivors, families, ladies and gentlemen, today we salute heroism, but heroism must be sanctified practically, through learning, drawing lessons, and through handing down this heritage and the torch of responsibility from generation to another. This is responsibility for us, is a lifelong duty. When we stand here together in the heart of one of the loftiest symbols of the Holocaust, we remember that as great as the threat, so too is the common front that we must form against it. There was no precedent for the fusion of solidarity, humanity, and mutual responsibility that alone defeated Nazi Germany and the Axis powers. Here we understand well the sacred alliance that the family of nations forged in light of the terrible tragedy, to sanctify the memory of the victims, to stand firmly and collectively for the state of Israel's right to exist and to thrive as a sovereign home for the Jewish people, to teach and educate in light of the lessons of the historic catastrophe of the Holocaust, and to fight with all our might against any manifestation of racism, anti-Semitism, and hate. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago I had the honor of meeting Aliza Vitis Shomron. Aliza was a 15-year-old girl in the Warsaw Ghetto in 1943. Now she is 95. Aliza's father, Shimek, was murdered at the Majdanek camp. As a girl, member of a youth movement and the underground, Aliza risked her life by distributing posters in the ghetto, calling for Jews to resist. Just before the outbreak of the uprising, in the spring of 1943, her mother obtained forged papers. She wanted to smuggle Aliza to a hideout. But Aliza did not want to leave her underground fighter comrades behind. One of her friends encouraged her, called her to flee. She left Aliza a chilling, dying wish, saying, "Go, you survive. Someone's got to stay alive to tell people how we died. That will be your role if you manage to survive." Yesterday, Aliza told me in a meeting that we held in the Knesset these words. I took those words on myself as my mission. Aliza was unable to come here today, but on her behalf and in her name, in the name of the victims and survivors, in the name of the many millions who cannot stand here today, I humbly, the President of the nation-state of the Jewish people, the State of Israel, a descendant of the community of Lomze, which was completely wiped out in the Holocaust, I stand before you and pledge never again. The eternity of Israel shall not lie. Am Israel Chai. The people of Israel live. May the memory of the heroes of resistance and liberty and all the victims of the terrible Holocaust be preserved and bound in our nation's heart and in the hearts of all mankind, from generation to generation, forevermore.